All right, perfect. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is 26 Sports. It's your host, Mike Reda, as always. And today I have a very special guest. I have one of the main, most respected men in all of the world of boxing, the one and only Golden Boy Promotions matchmaker, the great Roberto Diaz. How are you doing today, Roberto?
Mike, I'm doing good. Thank you very much, first of all, for having me. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh, always. It's always a pleasure to have you on, man. And especially after the last few weeks and actually the first few months of the year that we've had in boxing this year, it was always needed to get you back on. So
thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So let's start off with this weekend, man. Saturday, you guys had a big card, obviously in Texas with Vergil Ortiz. And, how do you feel he handled his true tough test? And how do you think he handled the adversity and go through with what he did in that fight?
I loved it. I mean, look, Vergil is on a fast track. Vergil has been on a fast track. Now, it didn't start now. I mean, people are now starting to worldwide know who Vergil is. Yep. And rightfully so. I mean, not everybody could know everybody, all the fighters with how many fighters there are all over the world. But now Vergil is really getting the attention of the fans and the media and the experts because of how he's been doing everything. You know, he's how much better can you be? I mean, 17-0, all by now, 100% knockout ratio. So he's doing things right and not just doing it with unknowns. I mean, Saturday night was his toughest test. All props to Hooker, who showed a lot of heart, a lot of determination. Not taking anything away from past fights of Hooker, but to me, Maurice Hooker knew the significance, the importance of this fight, and I think this was the best Hooker we've seen in the past. He came in, I mean, there was points where you see him hurt, and he'd come back and try to no, I'm not, and push Vergil back. But so a lot of props go out to Maurice Hooker. He showed tremendous heart, tremendous skill. But yet again, Vergil did it the way he's been doing it, So we're very proud, very happy. And look, now people are I got so many texts and social media. You saw so much going on with, wow, Vergil's the real deal. I'm glad people are starting to notice it and realize that, yes, he is the real deal because the kid works very hard. And like he said in the past, I want to fight them all.
Yep. Yeah, and watching that fight, I wasn't able to watch it live, but I was hearing everybody talking about it. I came home, turned it on, and I was impressed, honestly, with both of them. Maurice, because he took some shots early that most guys would go down to, kept coming. He marked up Vergil. Vergil hadn't been marked up before. He's got some bruises, some lumps. He landed solid right hands. He went to the body as well, but it's just the constant pressure that Vergil Ortiz brings along with that power is going to do most fighters in. But they both responded. It was a hell of a fight. Shots were landed, no backing down. And look, it took a broken hand for Hooker to say, okay, that's it, because his hand was done. If not, it more than likely probably ends in a stoppage, but we're going to see more bombs being thrown before it would have been stopped from both fighters.
Oh, absolutely. When you have two fighters going in there with the mentality of, I'm here to win, I'm not here to be the opponent, that's the kind of fights you get, And it was a 50-50, and I told people, look, this is a tough fight. It's going to be a good fight. We were very confident in Vergil talent and knowing, but still, there was always we're going to find out, and doing and like I said, Maurice showed a lot of heart. We're looking for, we have another fight with him. Looking forward to doing another fight, and not just one, many more, because the kid has talent and has guts and has determination. And you know what? Losing to a young man like Vergil Ortiz, who's going to go on to win multiple divisions, is no shame. And the way he lost, people are going to want to see Maurice Hooker again. I want to see Maurice Hooker again.
Yeah, and like we said, at the end of the fight, when the people were booing him, his response, for me, that was fine. He put on a hell of a performance. He gave it his all and was being booed for no reason. So I had no issue with how he responded to the fans. Language was colorful.
And you know what? We've said in the past, and I've mentioned in the past, boxing fans are hard to please. No matter what you do, if we put in Boxer A against Boxer B, and Boxer B happens to be an opponent, they're cherry another opponent. When they're going to step them up, you get that same Boxer A, and now step them up. oh, they're trying to get him beat now, huh? Yeah, you can see they're trying. So it's like, which one do you want? Do you want him to fight nobody or that, that C-level opponent? Or do you want to see challenges that really put on and provide very good, entertaining fights, regardless of who wins?
Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the biggest things with Golden Boy is you guys match your prospects, level contenders, everybody really tough because as we go back to the Ryan Garcia fight, people thought, oh, he's finally getting tested, this and that. He goes down, oh, he's overhyped. He responds, gets the knockout. Well, Luke Campbell wasn't, one of, and it's like, come on, guys, you were shooting him down. He gets up, does something good. Oh, well, it wasn't too much. Garcia put a hell of a performance. Campbell had never been stopped and had been in there with Linares when Linares was on his run, had been in there when Lomachenko gave Lomachenko problems, and Garcia was the one that actually stops him. So
absolutely. I mean, there's a time where you want to step up. You're not going to do it when they're 4 rounds and 6 rounds, yeah. But there is times when you're progressing, and everybody's different. Some fighters mature faster. Some are waiting for that to develop, the man body, that man streak. Everybody's different, but it comes to a point in their career between that 15th and 20th fight that it's time. And again, some go faster. Look at Bektemir, Kuziev, the bully. He was ready to fight Kovalev. I mean, and he has 6, 7 fights. So everybody's very different. And when it's time, you'll see it. And yes, some are going to be like, they're not going to pass with that flying color, or they might barely pass. Then you take that step back a little bit and build up a little bit and then go back for that test. So everybody's different. There's no blueprint because depending on how they're progressing. And you know what? That's the beauty of it. And the fans just have to understand that sooner or later, yes, he will be tested, regardless of who the fighter is. And sooner or later, they're going to be in that war. But the mentality here with us is, at the end of the day, it's entertainment, and fans want to see real fights, good fights, tough fights. Even if you guys tuned in or the fans tuned in to the Facebook version of our undercard, the first fight went the distance. The second fight went the distance. The third fight went the distance. They were all tested. We lost one of our young contenders, lost his his first professional fight, and lost it to a very talented young man named Alex Martin. I mean, Luis Hernandez came up short. He saw a different style. He saw a fighting style, coming into the show. He fought a southpaw, a move. Martin fought beautifully. I don't know if you caught that fight, but just, his defense without running, countering, popping shots. I was really impressed with Martin. And with Hernandez, look, he's young enough, 21 years old. Go back, watch the video. What went wrong? What do you have to do different? And bring him back a couple fights and then do another fight similar to that style to see if the progression's there.
Yeah, and that's how it has to go, especially with someone that's 21. You're not going to just think, oh, he's going to win this fight and he's going to go become a world champion tomorrow. No, it takes something up. And you guys,
they have to see, they have to fall. There has to be those moments of the heat. It's getting hot. It's getting tough. So you can see the character. Yeah. Now, what could happen with Luis Hernandez? He could be like, nah, man, this is – and be so down on himself, won't show up to the gym, won't train, won't do this. Or this might light a little fire in him and say, you know what, I want to train even harder now. So you have A or B that can happen, and that'll show you the true character of the young man, because it's easy to see when they're winning, the surrounding, the circle, everybody's big, everybody's pumping you up. Now's the time to test them.
Yeah, and it's like Sergio Martinez said when he beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., he said he was having phone calls every couple minutes of congratulations. When he lost to Miguel Cotto, he had 3 missed calls and 2 was from his mom. So that's how it is, especially in boxing.
It's eye-opening.
Yeah, definitely. It's terrible because it's people get taken advantage of so easily in the boxing sport. And, talking about some of the other fights on that card, I'm going to get into first Marcelino Lopez. He was brought in as the last minute. I heard you guys talking about him on Thursday. Shout out Beto Duran and Joel Diaz. You guys were all talking about him, about how this guy shows up looking like a World Fitness health model or something. And then you see him weigh in, and I was like, the hell does this guy do for a living? Like, does he just run around with the refrigerator on his back or something? Because he was really set, and he goes out there and puts on a show. I mean, nonstop, and respect as well to the opponent who kept getting up, just didn't give in, kept coming back. It was a hell of a fight. I mean, it was a barn burner. But Marcelino Lopez, again, he has a world-class trainer in Joel Diaz, put on a great performance. Now, you obviously knew what he was capable of. Were you surprised still somewhat by what he did during the fight?
Absolutely. And this fight should be a very positive message for two reasons. Number one, through this whole COVID, which has been now a year, we've been telling everybody, stay ready, be in the gym, train, be ready. Don't use COVID as, well, the gyms are closed. Backyard, dude. Yeah. There's a great example with Marcelino. The first 6 months or 8 months of COVID, he wasn't training with Joel in the gym. He was in his backyard at home training. Wouldn't even go outside. Only went outside if he had to go to the grocery stores. But he was very, very cautious, but never stopped training. What's the message? On Sunday, when he was confirmed, hey, you're going to fight, that's less than a week.
Yeah.
Everybody else that was called for other fights, even if I figured if I can't get Marcelino an opponent, I got to make another fight. And I made so many calls. And what? On 1 week notice? Oh, man, I can't be ready. I said, look, if it's a weight thing, we can bump it up a little bit. No, not on a week notice. No, I haven't been training. We've been a year. And a lot of these guys that haven't fought or not fighting, it's precisely because of that. Now, in most cases, they know I'm not going to call you on 1 week notice. I'm calling you on short notice when these fights fall out. If fights don't fall out, I wouldn't be calling on the last minute notice. So but you tell them, guys, be ready. Because in this day and age, fights are falling left and right. If it's not COVID, it's travel restrictions, it's a medical didn't pass. There's so many, the normal reasons why, but now add COVID when all of a sudden you're getting ready to fight and you feel sick. I mean, look, we lost Cano a week before the fight. He didn't test COVID. He's getting his results tomorrow. He obviously flew back to Mexico when it was determined he wasn't fighting. But he called me and says, I feel like crap. I feel weak. I feel sick. I don't have energy. And he still hadn't done the weight cut. So I figured once you do the weight cut to get into next week, you might not recover. And now going mentally into the fight knowing you're not 100%. So I said, no, Pablo, then you know what? You're out. Marcelino stepped in right away and said, look, I'm willing to fight anybody. Give me the chance. And I said, what weight since it's short notice? He goes, I can drop to 140. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I'm only weighing 147. He was only 7 pounds above. So there's the message, stay within weight. It could change your life. Marcelino hadn't fought in a long time. He took this fight. I think the next fight can be a world title eliminator to put him in a mandatory position should he win. So the next fight now is the one he's going to program himself, have a full camp. With Heido, another example. Heido took the fight on shorter notice than Marcelino because once Marcelino was in and Navarro's team decided, look, we'd rather wait, maybe reschedule the Cano fight or we'll find something else. I started making calls. Heido accepted the call on Tuesday, the fight on Monday night. Now, Heido didn't win. But Heido, for his debut in the U.S., caught the attention of a lot of fans and caught the attention of the promoter. After the fight was over, before I went to congratulate Marcelino on a great job, I went over to Heido and I said, son, I want you back. You showed a lot of heart. You showed a lot of courage. I can't wait to see you back and fighting on a time where you've got time to prepare for your opponent. And he was very grateful, said he'd love to fight back, to come back to fight for us. And I said, let's plan it. Get some rest and get back in the gym, after a few weeks, talk to your coach, talk to your management, and I'd love to see you back. Now, back to your question. We've seen Marcelino for many years. We've always known he's strong. But he was always stiff, tight.
Yeah.
Because he's a big puncher, he was always looking for one punch. So what was happening with Marcelino is he wasn't letting his hands go. looking for just that one punch. I was very impressed in how, and that was just the first fight where I seen it. I can't imagine, in a couple more fights once it becomes his routine. But right off the gate, he looked more explosive, like faster, sharper, and he hadn't fought in a long time. So I know that shows me that he's been doing the work in the gym, been working on something different. The jab was on point. It was a strong, fast, like you could see that it was hurting and doing its damage, but also the taking a little step back, getting out of the range of Heidel and then moving back in. He looked a lot swifter, a lot faster than he's looked in the past. Just, basically try to walk forward, but lento and stiff. This time it was more relaxed. So I'd like to see him in a couple more to see because, a lot of people, when they hear an age or haven't fought in a long time or he didn't capitalize after the Leonardo or the Cano fight, oh, he's done. He's old. He's not. No. He showed me that. And we talked that obviously after the fight, and he says, look, I want to fight for that world title. I want that shot. And I said, you know what? You definitely have the record. You definitely have the credentials. And let's just go get a world title eliminator so we can become mandatory. Because off the bat, nobody's going to want to just fight you as a volunteer.
Yeah, especially with what he did on Saturday. Knowing less than a week he put on that performance, and I'll give him a full camp. Who knows what could happen. So, yeah, and Clay Stevenson was asking about that question, that he could be getting a title eliminator. And, yeah, that's a possibility he's saying right now. So, also I want to talk about the person that I think may have stole the whole event, maybe even a little bit more than Vergil, was Seniesa Estrada. She put on a hell of a fight. I mean, the knockdown was so perfectly set up, and she just dominated the whole fight. As she said, she felt more comfortable at the 105, and she definitely looked like it. She didn't seem to have any trouble making the weight, and then she went out there and put on a great performance against an experienced champion who had defended the belt, I believe, 12 straight times, correct? And
that's
took
correct.
It from her. So, with that, obviously you know what Seniesa could bring. Same question. Were you surprised or impressed somewhat by what she was able to do that night?
Seniesa doesn't stop impressing. It's you see one performance and it's like she outdoes this one. The fans have to understand Anabel Ortiz first to understand how
impressive
good Seniesa really is.
Yes.
Anabel had done 12 title defenses, the longest reigning world champion in women's boxing. Had 200 amateur fights. It wasn't just, they got an opponent from Mexico. No, this was a world champion with a lot of talent. And Seniesa made it look like Seniesa was the one with the 12 title defenses, like the one with the 200 amateur fights, and Anabel was the challenger. It was a shutout. I expected a much, much more competitive fight, but not because Anabel couldn't. Anabel was trying to lure Seniesa in, but Seniesa changed. I haven't seen something like what she was doing, is changing the speeds and changing the distance and changing southpaw, the orthodox, and just all in combination will confuse anyone.
Yes.
Anyone. And it showed it. I mean, it showed it. Anabel had nothing but praise for Seniesa. There was no complaints for Anabel. She knew, and she said, look, go take care of my title. You won well, and you're going to be a great champion. And I saw Seniesa do things I haven't seen done, and I'm not just saying women's boxing, in boxing in general, the way she was moving and the confidence, and she had said, I'm going to win by knockout. And you know what? I told her after the fight, if it would have been the 3-minute rounds, like some of the women are trying to get, it's definitely a stoppage. And you know what? It'll give the fans that excitement that they're looking for it, and start pushing for more and more every show. We've been doing it on every show, trying to have one of our girls on the card and showcasing their talent. I mean, you've seen Seniesa, you've seen Franchon already this year. Coming up next, you're going to see Marlene fighting for a world title. Hopefully right after, you're going to see Sulem fighting for a world title. And then we recently did co-promotion with Miguel Cotto Promotions, and we signed Areli Musino from Monterrey, Mexico. So it's moving. It's getting bigger in the U.S., and I think the fans are starting to see, look, there's some amazing talent out there. And one thing with the girls, they're willing to fight anybody, man. They're like, okay, just give me the date. I don't care. I'll fight.
Yeah, and I could say that as well with some of the MMA that I've been involved with. There, I've seen them like, hey, can you fight this weekend? Yep, and they go out there and put on the best fight of the weekend. That's why with Sinisa, I was just like, oh my god, like look at her. And then she had one point when she was doing that switching from right to southpaw where she was caught a little bit, and she like regrouped. And the next time she did it so much more smooth, so fluid that she was just taking over. And it was like any time Annabelle thought she had, okay, here's my shot, Sinisa responded with something, cut her off right then and there. And it was just impressive. I mean, as you said, she impresses more and more. The last time she had the 7-second knockout that went viral that everybody was in love with. This time, she dominates a long-time world champion that, to the real boxing fans, is surprising because we thought, okay, this is going to be a tough fight. It might be 6-4, 7-3, maybe a draw. And no, she just takes over and wins clearly every round. So that was, to me, she was the one that won the weekend because Vergil was tested and he passed with flying colors. But Sinisa was like, okay, this is going to be a tough, possibly draw-ish top fight. And at the end, by the 6th or 7th round, you're thinking they want to stop it. I mean, they could stop it because Annabella's not in this fight. So I was more impressed with her performance over everybody else. Vergil, of course, did this thing, but that was just the one that captivated me, especially watching Sinisa for so long.
And that's why that one was bumped up. It was just obviously it was a world title, but when we lost Cano against Navarro, that was the obvious choice, and then there was no brainer that, you know what, this is going to be such a good fight and such an important fight for boxing in general worldwide. And that's why it was like, let's make this the co-main event now. And look, it was all the fights, I mean, were perfectly aligned with how they fell. I mean, Tristan opened up the telecast. What better way to get the attention of saying, oh, shit, we're going to have a hot night tonight with Tristan coming out, bam, first round, let's go. You know, so it was like perfect.
Yes, that set off the fireworks when everybody was talking about, oh, you have to watch this, you have to watch this. I was like, all right, let me sit down and watch the whole card. And I'm sitting there, I was like, that's a big kid. I was like, oh my god, and like you. And
he's still a baby, Mike. He's still a baby.
He's 21,
he still
right?
Hasn't developed that man strength. What's that?
He's 21, correct?
20,
even younger. So yeah, when he gets into that man strength and all that real large frame, oh man, it's gonna be a joy to watch because I'm sitting there like with a smile on my face watching him. And once he landed that body shot, I was like, oh my god, like the ref shouldn't have counted. That was done the moment that body shot landed, but it was just a crazy impressive performance for him. And you guys have a lot of young fighters. I got Clay again talking about George Rincon, who's also very impressive. Love those him and his brother, I believe. Love the fights that they put forward. So you guys got a good stable. One of the fighters.
No, they bring in a lot of fans, and obviously that the undercard had a couple locals. There was a lot more, but you know, injuries and everything sidestepped that. But George Rincon looked incredible even with the layoff. Was sharp, had a tough opponent, a veteran, a lot of experience. I told George after the fight and his manager Lamont and the team, I said, look, you're ready for 10 rounds, brother. Let's go. Because that's what you start looking at. When you go into that 8th round and still looking sharp, not sloppy, not tired, that means the work's being done in the gym. The kid's doing his running, doing his cardio, staying sharp. So that's where you say, okay, he's ready for the 10 rounds. And you know what? He's on another fast track because he has that experience from the amateurs. And it's like, you just, as long as they're healthy, no injuries, no nothing, let's go. Let's go. What's the worst thing that could happen to these young fighters? A setback, a loss? Okay, you learn from that. You come back. I mean, don't get me wrong. You don't put him in way over his head. I'm not saying, hey, let's go fight for the world title, guys. No. But there's a point where, okay, step it up, because worst case scenario, okay, you learn from that. a good example is, I still see how people, Canelo should not have fought Mayweather. Okay. Yes. If we would have known now what we didn't know, 10 years ago, yeah, okay. In essence, maybe that's right. But then at the same time, Canelo became that star because of that fight.
Yeah.
So, he considers an experience, a learning experience. And look at that second chapter after that, how good he became.
Yeah.
A lot of young fighters can become better. We have Jorge Linares has lost 5 times, and he keeps coming back and spoiling and surprising people. And guess what? There's still one more cat in that hat. Or rabbit, should I say. There's still one more rabbit he's going to pull out of that hat, and he's going to surprise a lot of people in this next one.
With Devin Haney, and I read it's going to be in Vegas the day before Ramirez and Taylor, so I'm going to try to sneak into the Haney and Linares fight because I will actually be in Vegas that week.
I don't know if that's official. I haven't heard anything official. I saw a little poster that was out there. I can tell you that's not from Matchroom and that's not from Golden Boy.
Okay.
In fact, there was a misspelling on it. It said Mary 21st instead of May. But we're just waiting right now for the official announcement and hopefully that it's done soon because, look, Jorge's training hard in Japan, looking very sharp, very good, and looking forward to a fight. I mean, it's a real fight. It's a good fight. And it's those good fights of young versus experience. Is it young versus old? We'll find out come fight night. Or is it young versus the professors, the experience that still have that one left? Chocolatito against El Gallo. They thought, you know what? It's the younger, stronger, bigger Gallo maybe getting Chocolatito at the right time. I mean, as great as the fight was, as close as it was, I saw Chocolatito winning just like many others.
I did as well. I especially that 12th round, what he did, knowing how many punches were already thrown, it was him. He won that fight to me, 7-5, 8-4. It was a great fight, not taking anything away from El Gallito Estrada.
Correct.
But that was Chocolatito's night. He won that fight clear to me, especially if you're going to say it came down to the 12th. He won that round.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Exactly what you said, though. That was a great fight where they thought, hey, maybe this is the time to put the greatest lower weight class fighter on our resume and say, hey, we beat him once. And instead, we're sitting there at the end of the fight in awe of what Chocolatito was able to do once again. And that was just one of those moments where, as a boxing fan, you just get up and you clap because it was a great fight. But a couple other ones that I got to talk to you before we let you go. Couple fighters, well, 3 fighters in particular. First one of your newest and biggest signees, Zurdo Ramirez. What do you guys have planned for him? And is he going to be fighting within the next couple months?
Absolutely. We're hoping to have an announcement very shortly. Obviously, we're very excited. He's a great kid. He wants to fight. He wants to fight. See, that's there's signings that do we really want to get in here? But when you have a fighter and a team that's like, look, line them up. I just want to fight whoever, and I want to fight all the best. I want all the champions. I just want a team behind me and want support, and let's go out and do things. He's not shying away from these fights, and you know what? I think this year is going to really. It's time for the fans, so for the Zurdo fans that haven't seen him in a while. He wants to give it back to them and show that, look, there's still a lot of Zurdo left, and you guys are going to be happy with him.
Okay, because we were hearing, the little rumors that come out, as you know, of April, May, something like that. So there's a possibility that it'll be in that time frame then, correct?
We'll be making the announcement soon, and hopefully it'll be in the summer. It'll be in the summer.
And then with one of the fighters that I had on the show recently, Blair Cobbs, a lot of fans love his energy. They want to know what's next for him. As when we spoke, you did say he's no longer a short notice, few round fighters. He's a legit contender that deserves to get the full camp. What's the news on him?
Well, I guess I might have spoken too soon on the short notice, but Blair, if you're listening, brother, all the best to you. So when we lost Cano and Navarro, Blair was one of the fighters I called. Can you be ready in a week? Before I said anything about opponents, before I said anything about, The reply was, yes, he's in. So there's another example of guys that are willing. Now, unfortunately, in boxing, you need two to dance, right? So the other side called a couple, 2, 3 fighters, and they weren't ready. No, I need 6 weeks. I need 8 weeks. I need 10 weeks. So unfortunately, that's why we didn't get to see Blair. But you know what? Things happen for a reason. I got him ready to go on our next card, April 24th, 23rd. As soon as we get that announcement, I want to put him on there, start getting that undercard, start getting Blair back in there in front of the public eye, make some noise, and get the crowd, get the fans excited.
Okay, and then the third one, a lot of people were asking me about Mangia, Ryan Garcia, but this one for me is someone that I'm interested in, especially with that man Vergil Ortiz, who you have in the same weight class, Rashidi Ellis. What's next for him?
So Rashidi is scheduled. We're supposed to be on our Munguia undercard. We're just working out a couple of things with opponents and trying to get him that right. See, Rashidi's in a position where he's not a mandatory. None of the champions are going to want to fight him just as a voluntary. He's too much of a risk for the champions. So what I've explained to him and his team is we got to get into the mandatory position. We got to go in there and beat guys. And we're close. We're close. We're not far away. We just needed to get him back in the ring and get him busy. And he's coming off a very good win with Alexis Rocha. Yep. So now it's time to get. I would really like a former world champion. I would really like. Amir Khan. Yeah. I would really like somebody that's known worldwide, so that Rashidi can show the world, look who I am. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as saying I would like for him to fight Amir Khan, or I'd like for him. Because when you have these names, they'll come back and say, okay, we'll fight Rashidi for this number. And it's not a reasonable number. It's not a reasonable number. So it's like you have to really dig and find and search to really find that right opponent to say, okay, look, here's a very good opponent who's going to give him another look, another thing to work on and have him show the world how skillful he is. I mean, Rashidi could fight any of the world champions today, but they won't fight him. Yeah. So we have to get into these mandatory positions.
Yeah, and that's one of the fighters I like because you or him and Vergil are 147. That's a fight that can be built up if each one of them, put themselves into a mandatory position or they put themselves into an eliminator fight some point down the road. That would be a great fight. It's Vergil's strength, his pressure with Rashidi's movement and speed.
It has been mentioned a couple of times, both sides of, they know it's on the horizon. But like you said, I believe both young men could become world champions versus the current champions. And then if they're both champions, the unification would make their fight bigger.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it's about right now. They're still young. They both have been tested by top-level prospects, contenders, or former world champs already. So, yeah, let it build. What about for Vergil? This is kind of what I would love to see for Vergil is Keith Thurman. Is that a fight that has been mentioned, and have you guys reached out to the people of Keith Thurman?
No, well, right now, obviously it's his vacation time. He needs to get a good rest. Had a long camp. Worked a tough camp, as he said it is. So right now we just want him to get some rest, and we'll be sitting down with him and his team hopefully in the next few weeks to determine, there's so fights. When you have a fighter like Vergil, on this side, it's very easy to make fights because there has not been one fight that's been presented that's been turned down by Team Ortiz. However, I could tell we could say this guy, or that guy, and he'll probably say, okay, whichever one. But it's the other side we have to go to and see. And I don't know the details because it's none of my business of what, Thurman was going to fight somebody. I forget who it was right now. And the money was asked for, I think it was Crawford.
Yeah, $4 million.
And it's like, $10 million. So it's like when they have these numbers in their head already of what they think they can get here, maybe they're willing to cut down. Okay, I'll fight a Vergil, but it has to be $5 million. You're not a world champion. What makes you think that in a COVID age, an era where tickets are not being sold, full of tech? I mean, it's like they got to get these numbers out of the head. We're not there anymore. Those numbers aren't there. And the proof is that they're not there is they're not fighting each other for those numbers anymore.
Yeah.
So it's like, slow it down. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's so many. Look, I would love to do. I worked with him for many years. I would love to do a Vergil Ortiz and Danny Garcia. I mean, that's another great fight for the fans.
Yeah.
Great fight for the fans. And both that come to fight, you know, and it's like, you know, there's going to be some action and some trading and some blood and some cuts and some, but it's not as easy as what the fans need to understand is, yes, we see what they see. Man, they should be fighting. If it was only that easy.
Yeah.
If it was only that easy.
If it was only a video game, right?
Exactly. That, hey, this is it. I want to fight this one. That easy. You don't have to go through management and trainers and promoters and networks and everything to say, okay, it's just, hey, line them up. Who are you picking? I got this guy. I got that guy. But it's easy when you work with fighters like in the past with Canelo and Vergil and Ryan, you know, that the opponents, Ryan at one point said, look, I want to fight Duno. I want to fight Linares. I want to fight Campbell. And then I want to fight. And the Linares fight didn't happen because Linares got COVID. But he fought Duno. He fought Campbell. Yeah. I mean, he's gone through like who he wanted to. And look, it's happening. And they still got to remember, these kids are 21.
Yeah.
Spence and Crawford are in their 30s, and they're not fighting each other.
Yeah. And that's the fight that might be second or third biggest in all of boxing.
I think it's a big fight. It's a great fight. Tommy Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard all over again. I mean, that's that style of fight. You know, when I saw Chiquita and Gallito fighting again, it reminded me of Carvajal and Chiquita. But this could be the Hearns and Leonard of our era right now. But they're just waiting too long, and they're it's just not happening. Look, Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns fought when they were 23, 22. These guys are in their 30s.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, do it now before it's too late. So, I mean, yes, everything has to be worked out in it, but I'm sure if both sides really wanted it, fighters, I mean, they could talk to their promoters, their managements, their trainers, and they could come together.
I believe that as well, and that's one of the biggest fights again in boxing, and I agree with you. Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, all over again, and it would be a hell of an event, hell of a fight, and we would probably see at least two fights.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one other question here, they want to know what other fighters should the fans expect for the Mangia card?
April 23rd. Let me see if I got my little bound sheet up. Like I said, Marlene Esparza will be fighting for her world title. She when she fought Sulem, it was a world title eliminator. Yeah. She came up on top, so she is the mandatory to WBC world champion Yvette Zamora. Okay. Trying to get Rashidi there, Blair on the undercard. Working on a couple. We just want to get this fight announced and done so we can let the world know, hey, get ready, the return of Jaime Munguia.
Okay, and that's April, and then you said possibly over the summer for hopefully Ryan and Zurdo.
Correct.
All right, perfect. So there you guys go. That's the cards hopefully coming up, and you guys have had a solid run. I mean, Garcia and Ortiz in there against their toughest opponents and shined to show that Golden Boy Promotions is still here and still got a lot going forward, especially with all these young fighters.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. Look, we're the on my side as the matchmaker. What helps me is our boss, Oscar De La Hoya, fought them all.
Yeah. So
he doesn't believe in, hey, just get him an opponent, get him. In fact, you'll sit down and look at the cards and say, no, why is this guy fighting that guy? No, believe me, don't look at his record. This is a tough guy. So there's those fights that you build, you progress them, you get them that experience. But once they have it and they're ready, it's time for them to do their job. And because they've been built, Mike, you and I talked about this, Joshua Franco.
Yep.
I'm very confident that those 3 fights with Oscar Negrete prepared him to win the world title.
Definitely.
Because he learned a lot about himself. He was pushed hard by Negrete. That come the time when he fought for the world title, he was ready.
Yeah.
It wasn't about, am I ready? He went in there, I know I'm ready, and I'm going to win the world title. And that's the blueprint is every once in a while they need that tough fight. If they get knocked down, they need to know I can get up. Tanahara was dropped early in his career, got up and won by knockout. That's what they need every once in a while to teach themselves and answer questions that they might have. Those questions are answered when they get into that big fight. Been there, done that, and they know what they can do and capable of.
Exactly, and that's what it was with Ortiz. He had already had some of these fights where he was, the main attraction. So come Saturday night, he looked around like, okay, this is what I always do. Let's go. Again, he was hit, he was marked, but it was business as usual. And yes, Franco, that was one of the best performances and biggest upset last year to some people. But as I told you, I was like, I got Franco pulling this off. He's gonna get this win, and there he goes. And he walked in like the champion and walked out as a champion. And hopefully, when that rematch comes, we see another performance similar to that first one. So I know you said you got a flight to catch. You got heading out to Puerto Rico for the Ring City card. You got a few fighters out there. So what are you looking forward to? Obviously, getting another trip going to Puerto Rico. But what are you looking forward to for your fighters?
Going out there there's going to be this ceremony from the WBC with McWilliams Arroyo, who just became an interim champion. So I'll be out there with him, supporting him on that. We're very happy and proud of him. It wasn't the fight that we wanted, but at least the fight happened. They were able to get a replacement. He went home as a champion. And look, we're looking forward to either defending the voluntary or fighting Martinez, which is no easy task. Everybody that knows Martinez knows he's very strong, very powerful. But McWilliams has a lot of experience. So it could be another classic in Mexico, Puerto Rico when and if that happens. Also, we'll be there because we recently signed Areli Muncino, who's going to be on the card. We have Leonardo Baez, who's fighting on the card. So we're going to be there for a lot of reasons. Also, sit down, talk to Miguel Cotto and Hector and Brian to make, plan out some plans for coming up in June, to get some fights going out here with them. We're great partners. And just going in there and also supporting Ring City, another promoter that's doing some real good fights and putting on some entertaining fights for the fans. We saw last week we came up short on one because, again, we were supposed to have Alberto Machado against Hector Tanahara. Tanahara got sick. In comes a replacement who was in the gym. Again, the message. Stay in the gym. Stay ready. Look at Angel Fierro's life, how it changed. From being in the gym, could have answered and said, no, I'm not ready. Give me a month. Give me 2 months time. He takes the fight. 2 weeks notice. Knocks out a former world champion. Now has an NABO title. Yeah. He's ranked in the top 15 in the world. Now a world title fight can happen on a voluntary basis with him. So it's not about how much am I getting on this one. It's how your life can change in general with the win. If you're in shape. Obviously, if you're not in shape, it's because you're not doing something to stay ready. So, that was hard. Tito Acosta was on the undercard. He won his first time finishing a fight, going the distance, which was good because he is a mandatory for the world title now. He has to go to Japan, possibly in June. So I was very happy that he got rounds instead of a first round or 2 round knockout, because now he has to go in there and prepare to win a world title in his backyard. So very confident that Tito can do it. He's hungry. He looks strong. Just needed to get some of that rust off.
Yeah. And definitely, as you said, with Acosta, he responded well now from his previous defeat, and he's got that mandatory shot. And yeah, with Fierro and Machado, especially, as you said, the conditioning and staying active in the gym. Any other fighter, those 2 shots that put Fierro down early in the fight, that fight is over, especially the second shot. He jumped up.
That second shot, that hook, it looked bad, and I thought it was done. He's not going to get up.
Yeah, I thought it was done. As soon as he hit him, I was like, it's over. He got up, and I thought, okay, but Machado's probably going to put him out. He responded. He was able to take the round, get back, rest, came back, and won the fight. And that's one of the keys is the conditioning, as you said, because if he's in decent shape, he's knocked out. If he's in a little bit above decent shape, he's knocked out. He had to be in great, pure tip-top shape to get that shot and respond as the way he did. So, as you said, Marcelino Lopez, Fierro, two guys who got the call last minute, stole the show, and now have placed themselves, as you said, for a possible title shot not too far down the road.
Exactly. And it makes a big difference winning this fight, their next fight, their purses. I mean, that's that's key. So the message, if anything, is stay in the gym, stay ready, be ready for that phone call because it can happen. All these fighters, I mean, whether they're Golden Boy fighters or not, everybody should just be ready, because right now there's fights falling left and right for all the promoters.
Yeah, and okay, this will be the last question here. They want to know if there's any chance that you guys may either sign or try to work with Fierro.
Fierro, I believe, has his own team. I mean, he's close to our team with Jaime Munguia. In fact, he was on one of Jaime's fights with this kid Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Alex Martin, who beat our undefeated kid, Luis Hernandez, told me after the fight, hey, this is the second time I beat with a Golden Boy fighter. And I'm like, which one was the first time? I knew he had beat Fierro. And then he said, Fierro. I said, well, that was our co-promoter's fighter. But, yeah, you're right. On two Golden Boy fighters, you're 2-0. Next time I want you on this side of the ring so that you can keep winning, okay? And so we're in talks with Alex Martin as well. But, yeah, you know what? Maybe we do a rematch with him and Fierro because now they both have some belts. It's just depending on what the weights. One's at 35, one's at 40. I think Martin could go down to 35 and fight and give him the rematch. So, yeah, there's definitely – when you see a kid come out and win like that, it shows a lot of heart. Like I said, not only because he won, but El Doberman, Jairo Lopez, he came up short. But you know what? He showed me a lot of heart, a lot of character. The fans are going to like him. I want to see him back as well.
Exactly. Like I said, he was dropped, I believe, 3 times, but he was never...
Yeah, one was not a knockdown. Yeah. One shouldn't have been called a knockdown. But yeah, he got up, dropped multiple times and kept getting up, getting... The last knockdown, I was actually hoping they stop it. And it was unnecessary for him to continue, and the right decision was made there.
Exactly, and that's one of those ones where he was protected from himself because there was no way he was going to say, I'm done. He was going to get up and keep trying, but that's the heart that we love from the fighters, but we also need those people that are in the positions of protection to do what they need to do, and they did that, so definitely. So, all right, I know you said you got to head out and get out to Puerto Rico.
Look, Michael, if there's questions, I'll be more than happy to answer a few more. And
okay, well,
no problem at all. I mean, look, I'm for the fans, anything. For you as well, bro.
Yeah, so well then I'm gonna ask the Ryan Garcia question because everybody wants to see Ryan back, especially after the performance in January. Is there anything set or being worked on for either now or between the summer as well with Ryan?
Absolutely. We're working on something. Hopefully, get it done very soon, so that we can definitely have Ryan back, not once, but a couple more times before the end of the year.
Okay, so there you guys go. Ryan will be back soon. And then, obviously, you have a lot of young prospects coming up. One of the ones, because he's from my local area that I'm really interested in, is Evan Sanchez. What's going with him going forward now? And, what's the plan for him after, the fights that he's had? And then, obviously, I believe he tested positive for COVID in January, correct?
I'm not sure on Evan testing positive. I know we were trying to get him on this particular card that's last minute because he was supposed to be on the Kovalev Beck undercard.
There you go. That's the one.
And then that one got canceled, so he wasn't able to fight there. Then it's been like last minute because he's in the gym training. But right now, I have him programmed, scheduled, going to work with his management real close to get him the opponent so that he gets in there and fights. We definitely want him to fight.
All right, and then one of the bigger names, because of what he was going to do, was Beck. Is now that we're hearing Kovalev has tested negative and all these and that things, is there a possibility that fight gets revisited if Kovalev is cleared and the suspension is lifted?
That fight was meant. I mean, it was scheduled. It was signed. It was done. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I was excited about it because it really was going to show the world how confident Beck is, how confident his team is, how confident we are to even be putting him in a position to fight a former world champion like Kovalev. However, when it didn't happen, it disappointed him a little bit. I mean, 2 weeks later, he fought on a card. It wasn't the same mentally. It was tough for him to even fight, but it was like all that training camp, look, fight and go home, get a break. but I want him to campaign at 168. It was an opportunity at that moment. He went up to fight. I think we did it at 178 or 180.
Yeah,
so he was giving up a lot of weight. He was willing to go to Russia. He was willing to fight, but since it didn't happen, if anything, let's do Zurdo against Kovalev. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Beck, I'd rather him stay at 168 and really do a strong push to win a world title, because I think he can beat a lot of the champions that are there at 68. Not all of them, but a lot of them. There's a couple out there that I no disrespect, but I think Beck, does a job. And obviously that's the division right now. That's one of the hottest. And we'd like to really get Beck moving in his division. And then eventually, if he can go up to 75, why not?
Yeah. And as we know, it's as you said, he was giving up 10 pounds, going out of the country, all of these things. But it showed the belief that he had and the belief that you guys had in him, that you said, okay, let's do it. Because I know when I seen it, we were like, oh, he's going to go up in weight and he's going over there? I thought it was going to be 172 or something. Maybe Kovalev cut a little bit, Beck goes up a little bit. But Beck was jumping up. I was like, wow, this kid.
Not only that, when the fight was moved to California and we got notified about the positive tests, Beck was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. But it still wasn't like, Beck, you know what this means, right? They're going to cancel the fight. The show's off. He was like, no, that's okay. I'll fight him like that. Yeah. I don't care what he's, what he's. No, it's not just that you want. It's not about you. I mean, it is about you, but it wasn't about your decision. It's the commission's not going to allow him. So it's like,
safe.
And it's like, but that's okay. What if I write, I let him know that I'm okay with how he is, or I don't care what he has. I'll still fight him. I'm like, that just shows the fighting spirit of this kid. It's not just talk, or it's not just interviews, or it's not just, I'll say I want to do this because it looks good or sounds good. He actually wants to do it. He wants to go in there and fight. So I'm looking for a couple of different opponents for him to possibly face. Had one that I really, really liked, but unfortunately couldn't get it done. So I'm looking at a couple different names out there to really show the fans how good Beck is, should he come out and perform and do what I think he can do to anybody at 168.
And he is a force to definitely be reckoned with going forward. And all right, this is the last one, guy that I speak to regularly as well. I know he's currently injured, but Luis Feliciano, I've talked to you about him many, many times. I believe the first time we spoke, I told you how much I enjoyed seeing him fight. Any chance he comes soon, maybe over the summer as well?
We put in a couple offers recently, and unfortunately, I don't know if it was timing or the opponents or so hopefully have something for him soon, and we could see him back in that ring. Correct.
Perfect. Yep, and that's one of my favorite prospects that you guys have. Like I said, I've talked about.
They love him. They love him. The Cotos always ask, "Hey, can we put him on one of the cards?" Because look, back when it was all open and everything, Luis had a big following in Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
and that's why he was fighting in the island and fighting in the States to keep building that fan base in both sides.
He won the regional belt in Puerto Rico, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so yeah, he's definitely one to watch as well going forward, and hopefully we get to see him soon. So again, Roberto, man, thank you so much. It's always an honor and a pleasure to have you on. Look forward to having you on multiple times, and once things open up a little bit more, you guys do more cards, hopefully I'm able to go out there, cover some of them for you guys as well, man. I'm looking forward to that going forward.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Stay safe, brother. Glad to see you. You're looking good. You're looking strong. Yep. Tell La Sobrinita I said hello when you see her, and all the best, my man. Take care. Stay blessed.
Appreciate that. You as well, man. And for everybody else, guys, we'll speak soon. This has been 26 Sports. Your host, Mike Rether, with the one and only Roberto Diaz. Hope you guys